How's it going, guys? I'm Mike. If you catch me in Gamer on one of my socials, I go by Hawk. So in today's video, I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a voiceover on some gameplay here that I was enjoying. I did Spotter at Depth 4, and yeah, it was the first time I completed a Depth 4 with Spotter solo, so I was pretty excited about it. Now, this was standard assault pace, as in the experimental branch currently, we are able to set a slower pace or even a faster pace at which the enemies will spawn, but I just went as a standard, which is what we've been dealing with since the game launched into early access. I also would like to take a few minutes to just talk about the updates that we have here in experimental, as you guys can check out this gameplay, and I'll also share my thoughts on my thinking as I'm going about completing this mission. So first off, we've got some new enemies, we've got some new weapons. All that's pretty cool. We got the new Trident, which is a pretty cool little rifle that we've got. It's very powerful, not very ammo efficient, but it's pretty good. There's a new flying enemy, which is kind of cool. They remind me of Wraiths, which is fascinating. I like the design. I like the concept. Kind of digs into the spooky aspect of Rogue Core, which is pretty cool. Overall, I like the updates, but some of the biggest changes are going to be in multiplayer. Now, you're going to see some of it here in solo play, but I will be able to explain it a little bit in multiplayer. Now, the loading screens here, where you have to stand in this ring, have been reduced drastically, so you don't have to stand around nearly as long, which helps to pick up the pace for the game. Also, the timer, as you guys will see here, has been updated. It now has yellow markers indicating where waves and where overtime is starting to become an issue, and where you're likely to start running into trouble. So it basically tells you to kind of get a move on when you really need to. Now, I didn't manage to get any of the new weapons. I chose to go with the burst fire gun here because I like my precision weapons, and this is the most precise out of all of these, and was more to my liking. But anyway. And then I went with a platform gun just because it's easy and convenient, and it's something I'm very familiar with. I also chose to go with incendiary grenades because they're really good at crowd control, and that is something that Spotter tends to struggle with, especially early on before he gets a few upgrades under his belt. Now, he can get pretty busted in all respects towards the end of a run, but in the beginning he does struggle. Now, as you can see here, it's got the yellow markers indicating that, hey, you're running out of time. When you get to that last little portion of the bar there, it will continue to fill up with green, and we've got little segments on it now, which help to be more indicative of where things are, as well as an indicator where the waves are going to spawn with that yellow square. Overall, pretty helpful for helping us to keep track of where we are in the timer and make it a little bit more obvious for newcomers, which I think is a good thing. Now, I personally was running Guardian's Devastation deck on Spotter, and I was running Spotter's Big Crits deck. So this was giving me all kinds of different options that I find helpful. I find the Devastation deck is very useful to me personally because it helps to balance out Spotter's bad crowd control. But of course, you do have to get those upgrades before you start to get those benefits. So bear that in mind. Now, I think it's pretty important to be using your scanner as frequently as you can because it helps to indicate where things are for you and your teammates, highlights things like leeches on the ceilings and such, which can be very helpful. And you've, of course, got your radar down the bottom, which is going to be updating every 4 seconds, showing you 35 meters around you, all enemies in red and allies in yellow, so you have a general idea of where things are at. Now, one thing you're going to see here pretty soon is we're going to show you one of the big changes that have been coming to the experimental branch is that Ellis has gotten a bit of an update. So while the rings that you have to stand in to activate things like heavy weapons crates and etc., those are reduced in time, duration that you've got to stand in them before they take effect. Ellis has a new effect where she's got a button on the back of her, actually. When you've filled her with enough Expedite that you can do an upgrade from Ellis, anybody can press that button, and then it'll do a quick wind down if you're in multiplayer. And everybody will be picking those upgrades. Nobody has to huddle up. We no longer have to come back to each other. We can just do the upgrades in run and continue to go about our business, which is pretty helpful. I like that. Helps to speed up the pace and remove some of the tension that was in the game previously. So I think it's a nice change, and I think it's going to be a welcome one. Now, at this point, I did take notice of the explosive plants here. If you're in multiplayer and you got some trigger-happy friends, you might want to set these off before you walk through them, just so you don't get blown up by mistake. However, in a aware team, or in solo, as you can see I'm doing here, I chose to leave them. I figured they would help with the crowd control, which, as I said, Spotter, before he gets a few upgrades, really tends to struggle with. Now, on top of that, you can see I am using Cooper here as much as possible to do the mining for me because, frankly, that leaves me free to do other things that I need to be doing. It's really not possible to get all of the Expedite in a cave when you're playing in solo, especially in the harder depths. And in the harder depths, it can be impossible even with a team. In the lower depths with a team, it is doable. As you can see, I chose not to use the plants yet. I didn't feel like that was enough to warrant exploding them yet. But yeah, remember, we are mercenaries, not miners. So sometimes it is better to leave things behind than lose the mission. As you can see here, there's the button. It triggers, and it's instant when you're in solo, but it does have a bit of an indicator that it's counting down when you are in multiplayer. So it doesn't take people by too much of a surprise because they know it's coming. And at this point, I was just kind of going for whatever upgrades I could find. I managed to get an ability recharge rate on my dart, which the dart is pretty weak in the beginning until you start to get a few upgrades on it. So I tend to upgrade that as soon as possible. Recharge rate does help. Now, again, with his Ranger Pocket here too, when you refill, it gets completely restocked, but you can't carry more than one. So if you aren't throwing it down before you take a resupply, if you've still got it in your pocket, then you are just wasting one, which is unfortunate given the fact that that's 50% of your ammo. Now, I have a wave coming here pretty soon, and I've decided to go ahead and go for this event because, frankly, I'm going to have to deal with a wave either way, and I wanted to go ahead and just get it over with before I started the elevator. I've already gotten the bio booster and workbench out of the way, which those tend to be what I view to be the most important upgrades that you're going to get in a level. So I try to rush to those first if I can help it, unless you've got something important like a heavy weapons crate or something. But these extra expedite events, I will skip them oftentimes just to save time if I think I'm going to be running out. And yeah, some of them are more time consuming than others. Some I won't even bother with at times. Now at this point, I did have quite enough weight here, and you can see that there were some core spawns spawning in. One cool thing is that they actually do count as weight, and you can have them join you here. You notice I was choosing not to kill them, but actually let them come close. And I was hopping around to make myself less of an easy target for them to hit and do damage to. And I did a pickaxe strike there to kind of stun him, and then took out the other once the weight was met. So just a quick, easy tip to get that one out of the way. Now at this point we are going to get the wave, and that is where I'm going to kind of fall back and take advantage of a bit of a choke point that was down that tunnel. Rogue Core has a lot of natural built-in choke points, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that. Now suppressing fire I chose to take here. I actually take two of them here because I get another one I think. And suppressing fire is pretty helpful for a spotter because frankly it slows down enemies, which makes crowd control much easier. And as I said, that's something that he really tends to struggle with. So it was pretty helpful for me to be able to do that and grab those pretty early on. It was a hard toss-up because I really wanted that weak point damage, but yeah, I chose to go with the suppressing fire. Alright, and now we're going to have this wave coming in, and I'm kind of looking around to see what all's here, get my bearings, so to speak, and make sure that we're clear of anything that's going to fall on my head while doing the elevator. But as the wave breaks out, I do a scan just to see where everything's coming from and make sure there's no more leeches or anything that could be grabbing me. And I figure it's time to start using these explosive plants and the choke point back here down this tunnel. Choke points are important for making it a little bit easier to shoot things, to take them out with an area of effect, and yeah, it just makes the crowd much easier to control, which is very important for any class that struggles to deal with crowd control. Now, I threw out some incendiaries here to just kind of double down on making this an impossible passage for the core spawn when they're coming towards me. Of course, they can climb across the ceiling, but that floor there, that's a bit of a butt for them to go through. And I threw down some crit darts here because not only would it give me extra damage should they pass through it, but also it would give me a little bit of extra warning. The crit darts, by placing them down in places where I'm expecting the core spawn to come, will actually give me a bit of forewarning because I will see them highlighted, which means I can start shooting them sooner and know where they're coming from, which is pretty helpful. And as you can see, I put them across the ceiling there, and the intent there was to ensure that if they chose to bypass the fire, I would see them coming and be able to start shooting them earlier. And of course, that Clamor head was a big threat. Those things, they move much faster than Praetorians used to. They're very powerful, and they can wipe you pretty quick with their breath attacks, so I usually try to prioritize those and take them out quickly. Now, I was running enhancements. I was running battering ram for the armor break and penetration, so I could deal with things like Clamor heads more easily. I was also running the extra repoint damage, and of course the crit damage, but also technical reload, nimble, and a couple of other things to just quality of life, make things a little bit easier on my spotter here. Now, unfortunately, this wave that's coming up here is going to be hitting pretty quickly, and I am out of time at this point, so I kind of have to go for the elevator in spite of the wave anyway. Wasn't really what I wanted to do, but here we are, and you deal with what you got. It is a roguelite, and you will have times when you just got to work with what you got. So we've started the elevator, which means we're going to get away from the elevator, but we're also going to get a double wave as soon as that wave spawns, which is going to do in just a few moments here. So things do tend to get hectic, and I do eat a few downs here on this first level because things do get pretty hectic here at the elevator. Now, I like to double down on elements. Obviously, crit damage is very powerful in this game, but I really like elemental damage for helping to conserve bullets as well as to make things a little bit easier. I will frequently throw grenades, explosives, or whatever it may be into places where I'm expecting enemies to pass through to try to get to me, like I did there around the elevator, although I did start to get a little hot and I had to start moving around even through my own fire, but it did make the passage a little bit harder for the core spawn when they were trying to get to me. Now, I, of course, could sit there and try to repair, but I knew I would go down if I did attempt so, because there were too many core spawn attacking me at that moment, and I would just quickly die. And so what I'm doing is running around and trying to hit the elevator drive shaft with occasional strikes and stay on the move, trying to stay alive. I do eat it down here pretty quickly. As you can see, I'm at 3 HP, which is not enough to survive a hit from that guy who snuck around the corner there, but it was what it was. So I ate my first down, and I think I had a total of 5 before this mission was out. This mission was done, but hey, we won, so I'll take it. Now, a fair point on that, and something to bear in mind, is that you do get revives back when you get down the elevator shaft into the next level. However, you only get 1. So if you are in solo and you are out of revives and you get down to the next stage, you're thinking, oh, I'll get my revives back just like I do in deep dives when you get down to the next level. Yeah, no, that's not the way this works. I do think breathing room is pretty important. As you can see, that stone skin came in clutch for getting me out of that dangerous situation, especially with spotter. I think it's good for all classes, but it's really good for spotter, and the reason is because, frankly, I would not have survived that. I got revived and would have gone back down immediately had I not had stone skin, and the stone skin came from the fact that I have breathing room. So when you get revived, you come back with, I think it's 25 stone skin at level 4, which is pretty helpful. Helped me not to be stuck in a death loop there. So I decided to fall back here, come back to my choke point. There were just too many. There was no way I was going to get that drive shaft fixed, and I needed to thin their herds a little bit and also try and drive them away from the shaft, the elevator shaft, and get the drive unit repaired because, yeah, they were just hovering around it. And they, of course, will follow you. So if you choose to leave the elevator and then kind of make a run for it, they will follow you around, but you can pull them away. It's a tactic that we used to use as scout a lot in base DRG to get things away from objectives or away from teammates. We'd lead them away, and then we could grapple back real quick and do whatever we needed to do. But, of course, it's a little bit harder since we don't have grapple hooks in this, but definitely still works. As you can see, I got a little bit of an opening here. And I was able to get the drive shaft repaired, and then, boom, the elevator's here, and we can get the heck out of Dodge. And there's stage 1. So I did eat 2 downs there, but we made it through. Now at this point, I was kind of debating between what I wanted. I chose not to go, even though I wanted the equipment great, I chose not to go that route because it would have given me lethal enemies. And frankly, if you go with something that you can't really handle, because the positive of that modifier looks nice, it's a quick way to end a run, and so I chose not to go that way, and I chose to go with the other option there, the artifact. And as you can see, Ellis hangs out in the elevator here. Good opportunity to deposit any Expedite you had on you from the last stage, and, you know, pick up your upgrades. Always use your scans, guys. Your radar will tell you where the enemies are when you first touch down, so you can quickly figure out where you need to scan and highlight things for your friends and yourself. Spotter is a team player. He's very good in multiplayer due to the fact that he can not only cause better ammo economy and damage due to the fact that he's got his crit darts and his Ranger's Pocket, but also highlighting things like leeches on the ceiling and stuff and keeping people safe. As you can see, I'm having Cooper here do as much mining as possible because, frankly, that frees me up to do things like this, while still getting a good amount of expedite. And as I said, we are not miners, so we're not going to be grabbing everything, but we are going to get as much as we can within the time limit, of course. Now, one thing you guys will see me doing is I'm oftentimes deciding on a path to take, and you'll see it throughout this level. Particularly, we will be trying to, basically, I'll be creating kiting paths. Things get pretty hairy throughout this run, up until I start to get just some really powerful upgrades. And you'll find that I wind up kind of running around in circles in rooms that I've already explored when I'm dealing with waves. Most of the core spawn are melee combatants, just like the Glyphids were. And so if they can't catch up to you, they can't kill you. Although they do have a much easier time doing it than the Glyphids did. The Glyphids couldn't jump and they were much slower, so it is something that is a lot harder to pull off now, but it still works and can still be very helpful. Trimmering here was pretty effective at helping to increase the range of my area of effect attacks and darts, etc. Pretty nice. One of the benefits of the Guardian bio deck. So, oftentimes when a wave hits, I will oftentimes stay in an area that I'm familiar with, because I know there's no leeches or whatever if I've already cleared it, and I will just make sure that I have a path that I can follow, so I don't really have to put too much brain space into finding a way to escape every time the crud hits the fan. I already know where I'm going. I have a path that's dedicated, that's safe, that'll get me away from things. Maybe it drops down cliffs or ledges or whatever onto areas where it's safe to fall and gets me away from things quickly. Now, I saw a lot coming in here and chose to kind of stick here and throw down a grenade and set up a little bit of a choke point here. It's not a full-on choke point. There's a couple of different points they could come in at me from, but yeah, it was better than nothing, especially since there was a few of them I could see. And I do remember there was that leech over there I saw on the ceiling over there, so I'll deal with that here in a second. And as you can see, I'm holding back there because I knew my scanner was nearly ready, and I was waiting to get bearings on that leech. I did not intend to fall down here, but it did make it convenient. I was able to find the little terminal here and get that done. So a little word of advice when working the terminals is that typically numbers, the last 3 or 4 digits on these codes, they will stick to one side. So if it's like 522, then it's probably going to be 522 all on one side, although it can bleed over into another side if it comes down to the bottom or the top. But yeah, typically you're going to be on one side with one of those numbers, and then if you get a second code that has a different number, you can just assume it's going to be on the other side. Not always true, but frequently true. Just to speed up the pace on that, kind of get a feel for that. And you can see I'm continuing to have Cooper knock down as much of this as possible. Going to kind of grab it real quick. We got a wave coming in. At this point, I'm just kind of exploring to set myself up a path to deal with these enemies. This was a bit of a dead end, and I did not want to stay here, so I got out quick. Yeah, don't get yourself backed into a corner, guys. It's a kind of a death sentence in this game. Movement is life. So as you can see here, I start to lay down a bit of a kiting path for myself where I'm going to be able to run circles around this room. This room's already clear. It's safe. I know there's no leeches or anything that I'm going to have to contend with. I've already dealt with those. And so I'm just going to kind of run around in circles here and create little pathways for me to run and jump and fall and do whatever I need to do to escape things. I am doing it on the fly here, which is probably not ideal, but it does work out. And yeah, it works pretty consistently here. This is one way that you can kind of survive waves when you're not having a lot of crowd control options, which as spotter, it can be a bit of a struggle, and the fact that I'm using a precision weapon right now and don't have any other options aside from my incendiary grenades, then yeah, I didn't have a lot of ways to deal with the crowd control, other than try to funnel it into proper places or stay away from it. you'll see that I tend to put down platforms even where they are not necessary. And that is just to make things easier, because when you are on the fly and trying to create kiting paths, you want it to be as simple for yourself as possible. It's the same concept with accuracy. Accuracy isn't about making crazy shots. Accuracy is about lining yourself up in such a way that the shots are easy. And so the easier you make your pathway, the easier you make it for yourself to do things, the more consistent it will be, the less you're going to mess up, and the less you're going to go down. Many people think that things such as accuracy is a matter of practice, and it is, but they tend to think that, oh, it's just skill. If you're hitting all the best shots, it's because you're the best of the best, and that's just not really true. Usually when it comes to people like myself who tend to use precision weapons, it's not that we're the best of the best at accuracy, we have the best reflexes, we're the fastest. It's because we know where to point. If you've got your reticle lined up to where you're expecting the enemies to be, then it only takes minor corrections to hit those pinpoint accurate shots. If you are way off the mark and have to do a 180 just to hit your target to begin with, you're going to have a much harder time hitting those shots consistently. So consistency is about planning ahead. Consistency is about knowing where you need to be at the right time. And those are the kinds of tactical thought processes that tend to go into these sorts of things. Many people don't think about it too much. They'll do it instinctively. They'll line up accurately and correctly before things get out of hand. I personally have to think about it, though, but I do find it helpful. Now, this is a pretty convenient choke point. There was a bunch of enemies on the other side, which is why I fell back. I didn't know they were there. I heard them, but I didn't know they were on the other side of this wall. And so I fell back and chose to use this as a bit of a safe point. Now, we're getting a wave at this point, as you can see, and I chose to use this as a bit of a choke point. I needed some grenades to chuck here, so I went ahead and used my Ranger's Pocket. Plus, I was going to be resupplying here anyway, so there was no reason not to use the Ranger's Pocket. Now, I heard the Rafcan here, and I figured I had time to dodge it. I heard it while I was resupplying, and I knew it was going to be ramming me, but I figured I could finish the resupply and then dodge out of the way real quick. And that worked out pretty good.
With these flares recharge faster.
Now, you'll notice that there are various different colors on my damage numbers. Base color is white. Crits are going to be kind of a reddish orange. And then double crits and weak point hits change the color even further. You can go greens and blues. So it is possible to hit for 2 crits on a single bullet. So you get your base damage, you get the extra damage from a crit, and then you get the extra damage from a second crit. And you can even stack even more crits than that on it. So it's fascinating that you can stack crits based upon crit chance. So if you have more than 100% chance of a crit, you have a chance to score multiple crits in a single hit, which is pretty awesome. Very juicy damage numbers.
Just crush the creeper.
Now I'm moving along here. I'm in a bit of a hurry. I know I'm going to need to resupply pretty soon, and frankly, we're almost out of time. As you can see, the timer is hitting the yellow, so time to go, folks. I did not get the workbench in this level, unfortunately. It is a very important upgrade, and I was loath to lose it, but more important to miss it and win the mission than to go for it and lose. So I'd rather just skip it on this one, unfortunately. Which was what I had to do, and it did work out, and you can see it gets a little pretty hairy here, so yeah, it was a good choice. We also have that event there, and those are actually easier to do when you're in the middle of a wave, because it brings you more enemies that you can kill inside of it and get it done faster, but yeah, wasn't worth the extra spawns it was going to incur. And of course, I gotta deploy those ranger pockets out before I grab my resupplies, so I don't waste them. And at this point, I just kind of rush to the elevator and try to get it done. Obviously, we're going into overtime at this point. There's no way to avoid it. I highly recommend using your mobility tools to speed up your pace. Use your ammo, use your grenades, use your mobility tools, use your heavy weapons, whatever the case may be. If it's going to speed you up, if it's going to kill things faster, if it's going to make your pathways faster, anything that can save you time is really important. Now, I was checking out my grenades anywhere I thought the enemies were going to spawn, and also around the elevator drive to try to prevent them from breaking it, which they still managed to do, unfortunately. That last one I checked out on the other side because I noticed the fire was not on the backside of that drive unit, which was unfortunate. And since I'm out of grenades, I'm going to go ahead and resupply here. They are my most powerful form of crowd control right now.
Platform placed.
And as you can see, I'm using this as a bit of a kiting path that brings me back around the drive so I can repair it when need be and kind of try and keep things off of it as much as possible. Started to get a little hairy here. I should have bailed earlier, but I didn't. Oh well. But I did manage to get it. I lost most of my armor. All my grenades are down, and I do fall back and try to get another resupply now. I had my ranger's pockets that I had deployed back here, and things are getting so hectic at this point, I kind of feel like I'm going to need grenades to survive it. So, you'll see after I see how many stalk me here when I go down. I get to move on reasonably quickly and try to go get some more grenades. After I grab the health, I do take a couple whacks here, I think, at the drive, yeah. And then move along. At this point, there's just so many that I need something that's going to take out large amounts of them, and this pistol ain't cutting it, so. Now, it was a little risky running back here through them, but yeah, it seemed like the fastest way to get past them and get to the drive. They were focused on trying to catch up to me, so I tried to use their momentum going in the opposite direction to afford myself the opportunity to get by. Checking out grenades to kind of set some traps for them, so I can get over here and get the elevator drive shaft repaired. I do go and eat my final down there that I have in my reserves. Cooper's got me up. I can go down. I can't go down another time without losing the mission on this level, so. But fortunately, the elevator is here, and I do manage to get out. Got a little stuck here trying to get past these guys, which kind of scared me for a moment, but we made it out. Now, at this point, regenerative enemies is really not that scary. Anything with element will deal with it pretty easily and kind of nullify it, and I really needed that heavy weapon. Yeah, I was really struggling. I needed some crowd control, and so this is the final level before we get to the boss stage, and so, yeah, I chose to go for the heavy weapon crate. There really was no downside to doing that, honestly.
Crit chance boosted. Time to kick some ass. Reloading.
Yep, almost forgot. Now, I've got eyes on these are the new enemies, by the way, guys. These are pretty cool. Rifkin Drifters or something? I forget the name. Pretty cool looking, though. And they float around, and then they charge up an attack, and then shoot an energy attack at you. Now there I chose to continue with the bio booster. Yeah, I knew I was being attacked, but I just kind of kept my cool, got it done. I was almost done with it anyway. And yeah, got it done. Heard the leech and dodged. But yeah, didn't know he was there, but I definitely heard him. Audio cues are so important in this game. Now I tried that because I wasn't sure if the platforms would stick to the elevator. I didn't think they would, but as you can see, they don't. Now we know. Didn't seem like something it would stick to, but then there have been a couple of surfaces that I didn't think they would stick to that they actually did. So I've chosen to just shoot platforms at everything and see what sticks. Now here that PGL was very tempting. I do love my PGLs, but ultimately I really needed something with a bit of more rapid fire and ammo economy that was going to help with my crowd control. And so ultimately, I chose to go with the Hurricane here. It had a nice rate of fire and really good reload speed. I love faster reload on the Hurricane. It's so good. Plus, it had elemental damage and just seemed right up for what I was looking for. And it really does pay off here that I grabbed that. Now here I was trying to speed up the process by using my platforms, but I actually slowed myself down a little bit. Yeah, I was working on grabbing that camera, and then I'm going to try and shoot the platforms across on when I get over here and try to get out. And yeah, it actually slows me down. Sometimes that happens. You just mess up, get stuck on the train. Silliness is going to happen. You got to kind of plan for it, work around it, and just move on. I was going to shoot a platform there to break my fall damage, but there was already one there that I could just easily grab. So you can see here I had the leech, and this is where I was talking about where I was using the platforms to just kind of speed up the process, make things a little easier. Try and get across, but I did run out of platforms sooner than I was thinking of. I didn't realize I was that low. And then, yeah, I didn't even jump. I did try to jump here, and I said, no, just too high. Too far. Not going to make it. So I went around, which is what I should have done from the beginning, but oh well. This is weird. Sometimes the cable will just be through a solid wall. It's strange when it happens. Sometimes it can be reasonably thick, too, which is interesting. But, yeah. When that happens, just break through. So, it looks like they're the Voidkin Drifter, I think that's the name. That's the new enemy. It's pretty flippin' sweet. As you see, it shoots those... spins its arms around and shoots those energy balls at you. Like I said, they remind me of Wraiths. I think they're pretty cool. And I chose to use this as a bit of a choke point here. We got enemies coming, and yeah, this is a tight hole they're going to have to fit through, so they're going to be guaranteed to be passing through my dart. Silly Alice blocking my shot. Yeah, she does that a lot. I don't care for it. She tends to fly back and forth a lot when you're moving around and trying not to die. And so if you're shooting on the fly, you're going to be shooting Alice instead of the core spawn quite a bit, unfortunately. I've actually lost 1 or 2 missions because I was about to land the final shot and it got blocked and then I got toasted. To be fair, if it was that close, that's on me, but yeah. As you can see, oftentimes if I've put status effects, elements and such on enemies, I'll oftentimes just stop shooting them and let the elements do their job. It's an easy way to conserve ammunition. I was out of platforms here. I was going to jump and use it to break my fall, but obviously not an option. we've got some friends coming in, and we'll be having a wave here in a second. And you'll notice that I do try to fall back to that hallway I was just in, because it's a nice fallback point, which would really help as a choke point. But I actually lose track of it here in the heat of things. And yeah, don't manage to make it back in. Would have been that hard to find if I'd followed the cable, but I was a little bit busy and preoccupied trying not to die, so I did fail to make it back into the hallway, but it's alright, we make it through.
Drone, find this.
I don't usually get disoriented in video games, but it does happen from time to time when you're in a hurry, so... And you are under a measure of pressure in this game, which is pretty cool. I like it, but yeah, it can definitely throw off your sense of direction at times. And I definitely want to take that upgrade on the workbench, but I knew I had friends coming, and I just wanted to get my bearings on where they were and deal with that first. Because it does not pause the game when you are in the workbench, like it does with an LS upgrade. So, and here, as you can see, I was trying to get back to the hallway, and I was like, wait, that ain't it. Where am I going? And seeing that that was a dead end and not where I wanted to go, I chose to move on. And rather than try to figure out where it was and how to get up there, I ultimately chose to go a different path, because you can see it's basically a straight up wall there. And I certainly could get up it, no problem, but in the middle of a fight? Not so much. So this seemed like a better choice. You'll notice that I use my scanner here. My goal there was to try to make sure there weren't any leeches or anything right here on the ceiling that were going to instantly grab me and take me down. Things are getting a little too close. I need to fall back. But golly, this hurricane's coming in handy. Not to mention Elementalist, which was the nice artifact upgrade I got. Constantly causing me to do all the elements, which is pretty awesome. It cycles between the different elements, and so you'll have one on your gun at a moment, and then another at another moment. So you'll get all of the elements, which is pretty cool, which gives them all their... they're able to feed off each other. I did see if I could get up into the hallway at that point, but you could see that it wasn't worth the effort. I figured I'd take more damage trying than just falling back. And we're holding our own at this point. So pickaxe strikes tend to take about half of the red sugar there if you hit it at the base and leave some standing, and you cannot walk through it. I managed to get a potent dart here, which was pretty nice. So don't think you're going to go break the entire red sugar vein down and keep on walking by. You've got to break it by hitting it twice. So it slows you down a little bit. I felt like it was a little bit different in base DRG, and I didn't have that problem, but I definitely have it here. Got stuck on that tiny bit of terrain. Yeah, this is the thing with procedural generation. You can get a little bit of terrain jank from time to time. It is the way it is.
No more cave leech.
Alright, and at this point, we are out of time.
Ready.
We'll be pushing again into overtime, so we'll have to deal with the worms that are going to try and snatch me and guarantee my loss. We were able to get everything out of this stage for the most part. Everything that I was going to bother with anyway. And that hurricane is very helpful here, because really upped my crowd control. On top of the fact that I've got several upgrades to my crit darts now, which just makes them far more powerful and far more useful for crowd control. Potent dart I find especially helpful because it increases the radius as well as the duration of the effect. So essentially, it'll hit in a wider radius if you stick it in the ground, so more things affected. And on top of that, it will also increase the duration. Now, if something were just to walk through the field of the crit dart on the ground at base without any upgrades, the effect wears off very quickly. However, if you've taken a few potent dart upgrades, then it is capable of lasting for quite a long time and taking effect for much longer and being very useful in that regard. And I went ahead and ate a down here. The elevator was open. I was running. I had to get out, and I didn't make it. Oh well. So I'm only going to get one revive back here on the boss stage, but it's all right. We make it through.
None can stand before us.
Now, one thing I used to recommend is that you would save an Ellis upgrade for during the middle of the boss fight, because you could use the upgrade to heal yourself, and everybody can take the health upgrade. It doesn't work that way anymore. You're not guaranteed to get health every time you upgrade at Ellis, so there's really no point to not taking your upgrades before you battle the boss. As you can see, I'm not bothering to mine the what they would call crust, which is, you know, the fragments left over when you hit your first initial pickaxe strikes. Those fragments are not worth much. They only provide minuscule amounts of expedite, and yeah, the time investment to actually getting those is just not worth it. You will be running out of time and, you know, getting extremely very little value for that time investment. Now I'm trying to get in a hurry here, obviously. I'm trying to get up. Probably didn't need quite this many platforms, but whatever. It was worth it. I don't believe I went for that camera. I think I just decided to move along because, yeah.
Come here, Alice.
I did not want to spend any longer than I had to. Thought I had a upgrade there, but I was like 1 expedite off or something. It was nuts. So, pretty funny. Yeah, it looks like 2 expedite off. Now, here I chose to go with Hemoforge. Burning Propagation was very nice looking, but Hemoforge was going to give me red sugar drops that would be potentially more useful against the boss, in my opinion. So, that's why I chose to go with that instead of the Burning Propagation, although I do have Incendiary Grenades and I've got Elementalist and all that's going on, and it would just be extra damage, but yeah, no, it wasn't worth it. I needed the health more than I needed the extra damage. And to be frank, at this point, I'm hitting reasonably hard, have some good gear. I chose not to go for the scanner. I already knew where everything was, more or less. And while there is benefits and rewards for getting it, I was more worried about the timer than that. So, same reason I left the camera, because we got the bio booster here, we've got the workbench there, and yeah, I could hear that leech. Always listen for the audio cues, guys. The leeches will notify you they're coming for you. As long as things aren't too loud around you, you should be able to hear it.
I'm killing freaks 9 days a week. Ready. Reloading.
I love that faster reload on the Hurricane. So good. And I managed to pick up a second potent dart here, which was pretty nice. I think it was the second one. regardless.
Gun's good to go. Target marked. Reloading. Took down the Voidkin drifter. Throwing an incendiary.
And there were so many here, I chose to chuck a grenade there. So, and of course, I consider the clamor heads priority number 1 oftentimes. You know, aside from leeches, etc. But clamor heads can just drain your armor and your health so quickly. They are one of the most important threats. The edge stalkers are also pretty important. Those are the kind of things that, even in a team setting, I tend to hyper-prioritize if I'm playing Scout, because he's exceptionally effective at taking them out with his crit darts. So, oftentimes that's what I will personally choose to go for over other spawn, which tends to be, honestly, most other classes are better at getting the small fry anyway, so I oftentimes will leave that to them and go for more high-priority targets, because those can be a huge threat to my team. And even though I am in solo right now, they're still a threat and need to be dealt with.
These little freaks just keep coming.
I love Aftermath. Aftermath here is really nice. It makes any area of effect attacks have a damage over time effect that's left in their wake. And it's very powerful, very fun. It can damage your allies and yourself, though, so be careful about walking through those clouds that it leaves behind, those ember clouds. That having been said, it's a very powerful art. Very powerful booster upgrade. And that's off the Devastation bio booster from Guardian. As you can see here, we're getting close to our wave. Definitely time to get a move on. It is best to start the boss before wave comes if you can help it, because disturbing all of the orbs, there's 3 of them, for the boss will summon the boss and also prevent waves from happening. However, you can get a boss on top of a wave if you let the wave start and then start the boss mid-wave, and it can be a bit of an issue. There shouldn't be too many more enemies spawning after the boss spawns, but you will have to deal with what's already there. So now at this point, you can see I'm trying to create pathways to make it a little bit easier to get up to the boss, should I get knocked down here. But also, you'll see that I tend to put platforms around where I expect to be thrown and to be able to break fall damage. Zip lines will work, the grav unit things will work, and here I go ahead and flip 2 of the orbs and don't flip the 3rd one because I know I don't have time. And then I go ahead and fall back into the choke point here that was conveniently waiting for me. Flipping the 2 first orbs just kind of preps it. Nothing happens until you flip the 3rd one. So this is the same principle that I've been using throughout this entire run, is just using choke points and crit darts and fire grenades and whatever I've got at my disposal to kind of lock things down and force them to funnel to me and convenient and easy to deal with pathways.
Ellis, you fine piece of equipment. I need you here. Reloading.
Things can sneak up behind you, as you see here, so keep that in mind. But certainly using choke points like this is a very effective method of dealing with waves. At this point I wanted more grenades, so I went ahead and took my Ranger Pocket.
Gonna get hot. Grenades are all gone. Reloading. Crit boost.
One other upgrade that you can get on the crit darts, which is pretty effective, is increased crit chance. Now the darts already do 100% crit chance, but as I said, you can get multiple crits in a single hit, so stacking crit chance on the darts actually makes it to where your allies are basically getting built-in potential for extra damage. So they can also stack upgrades for crit chance on themselves throughout the run, which can benefit them as they're hitting things that you've marked with your darts. But then also taking increased crit chance on your darts can also stack with that and increase that chance and make it to where everybody's getting triple damage, which is pretty awesome. Now, at this point, we are out of time. I need to start the boss. It is possible to have the worms at the same time as you're dealing with the boss, and just one more thing you have to deal with, not to mention tons of core spawn because of it. So, yeah, at this point, it's pretty imperative that I get things going before we hit the end of the timer. As you can see, I'm trying to wipe out these stupid scorchers before it becomes too serious a threat. I'm trying to get them quickly. And you'll see that I put down several platforms on the ground here. Like I said, just trying to create fall points. So you tend to get tossed around a lot by bosses, and it's very easy to fall to your demise wherever there's a point where you're likely to come down. So putting things like zip lines and platforms and the anti-grav unit things, it's very helpful and can help save you from fall damage. Give you a point to fall down to. Now at this point, we go ahead and get started. We are out of time, so it's time to flip the orb before the stupid worms show up. Alright. Time for the boss. Now I still have a revive in my pocket should I need it, and there's tons of ammo and armor resupplies down below. I did open up all of them that I saw because I knew I wanted to be able to use them. And if they're already open, there's less I have to interact with. So as you can see, we're getting some pretty crunchy damage numbers here by hitting the weak point and getting these nice crits. And I'm able to keep crit time basically constantly up on this boss. As soon as it drops, I just hit him with another dart. Little word of advice, if you are playing Spotter, hitting the boss again with a crit dart while he's still in the crit state does not re-up the timer. He's still going to run out at the same time as he would with the first dart, so, you know, wait until he actually does lose the effect and then hit him with another one. But because I've got a faster recharge and 2 potent darts, which increases the duration of the effect, yeah, I'm able to keep pretty much constant uptime on the crits on the boss. As you can see, Hemoforge is coming in handy here. I've lost all my armor, but this red sugar on the ground, which is pretty helpful given the fact that I'm losing health pretty fast. Dodging the boss's attacks here is nigh impossible, I find. Slicer's got a nice shield that will protect you because it blocks the boss's projectiles, everything except for the explosives. It technically blocks the explosives, but the blast coming off of them will still come through and is enough to kill you. At this point, I'm trying to heal up a little bit, get some armor back and such. As you can see, we're melting through his health pretty darn quick, which is nice. Spotter is very powerful against bosses. And I'm taking a lot of resupplies here, and it's just for health and armor. I mean, the ammo resupplies are nice and all, but I'm not really running low on ammo. I'm running low on armor. And that's one of the reasons I'll oftentimes take these, because the armor can save your life. And I saw the explosion coming there and backed off rather than continue on. You got to be careful of that. The bosses, particularly the Gudarak here, he can send explosives out towards your direction, but there might be terrain in the way, and it'll hit the terrain, but the explosion, you can walk right up into it, like I could have there. As you can see, I got thrown, and I had a way to break the fall damage. So that's something that tends to happen on bosses a lot as you get thrown around a bit. So having ways to deal with fall damage is pretty important. And that is why I chose to heal up my armor, because as you can see, I am down to 62 HP and no armor left. And I certainly would have eaten it down had I not. And now I'm at 7 HP. And at this point, I do believe I do kind of fall back and try to find some more supply on health and armor. Because I feel like I'm going to need a little bit extra just to get through this.
There's recharging.
I do have a revive available, but I'd rather not use it if I don't have to. And certainly don't want to use it unnecessarily. The boss will chase you, so, you know, be mindful of that. And if you should defeat him far away from the Rift Gate, you will still have to fall back to the Rift Gate in order to get the stone inside of the gate itself, so... Regardless, you will be going back to the boss room. As you can see, he's followed me down the pathway here. And I'm just kind of going to go past him real quick. Take a few shots as I go. He's still quite able to hit me, and I'm not really able to dodge in here, which is ultimately why I chose to move along.
Ready to call him out. Target prime for damage.
Very low on HP right now. Trying to get some back. Eating a lot of hits from this guy. He's very, very accurate with those ranged attacks. And yeah, you can knock down red sugar with heavy weapons. So that's what I was attempting to do there. Alright, now we've got the final stud exposed. I am very low on health and no armor. So I go ahead and try to rush for this red sugar here and hope for the best. I am running Sweet Tooth on my build, so that does help. Not only does it increase my speed, which is very helpful to spotter, but also I am getting back more of my health from the red sugar than I typically would.
Getting supplied. Don't shoot. Let him burn. Guns good to
Going
go.
ahead and topping off on grenades. I was considering going for that armor, but it was pretty exposed to him and would have been wasted, and I would have lost more health trying to go for it. And he pushes it back. And boom, rockin' stone. So, there. My first Depth 4 boss that I've beaten as spotter solo. I was pretty pleased. Managed to do it in experimental too, which was fun. Got to see the new content while doing it. As you can see, I ate 5 downs, but I got over 600. I got 611 kills, and I just kind of showcased the build I wound up with at the end there. So I got Tremoring, Reach, looks like big crits, and then Aftermath. Interestingly, on the Guardian deck, you can also get his explosive shots, and that will pair with Aftermath very nicely. It's pretty effective and could help to increase your elemental reach as well. Very helpful for Spotter and increasing his crowd control. As I said, something he tends to struggle with. Now at this point, all there is left to do is to celebrate. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. I hope everybody's having a good one. I'm just going to go ahead and, as you can see here, go ahead and get myself a beer. There's a little bit of a cut here. I don't show the whole workout sequence because, yeah, it takes a few moments to do that, and I didn't want to waste your time. At any rate, guys, hope you're all having a good one. I'll catch you all in the next one. Later.
Fitness quota satisfied.
Damn, I'm good.
Traps are open. One round of beers coming up.
Rock and stone,
least
you
you worked
beautiful
for
dwarf. This one's a classic.
I requested the dance
Last
floor be
one to finish
removed
buys
from
the
this
next
vessel.
round.
Now they will see why.
Yeah!
If you need an outlet for your aggression, I suggest you take it out on the core spawn.
For rock and stone!